Denver's policy of welcoming migrants with open arms is having unintended consequences in its neighboring suburb of Aurora, Colorado. That's according to a new exclusive from the New York Post. The town of Aurora is now grappling with the arrival of a notorious Venezuelan prison gang, leading to a surge in violent crime. It's become a hub for the brutal Tren de Aragua gang, according to local law enforcement sources who spoke with the Post. This criminal organization has taken over multiple apartment complexes and is wreaking havoc in the community. Since December of 2022, Denver, often described as an immigration sanctuary city, has seen more than 40,000 migrants arrive from the southern border, making it a leading city in migrant arrivals per capita. The city has gone to great lengths to provide aid, even cutting back on emergency services to manage the costs, which have already exceeded $68 million. However, Aurora is not embracing this influx of migrants. In February, the Aurora City Council passed a resolution explicitly stating that it would not offer resources or support to migrants coming from neighboring cities like Denver. Despite this, Denver's migrant policies have still led to a spillover into Aurora, bringing with them the dangers associated with Tren de Aragua. Sources tell the Post one local gang leader, known as Galleta, which means cookie in Spanish, has set up operations in Aurora, leading to a gang takeover of an apartment complex that since has become a hotspot for crime. This particular gang is linked to a series of violent crimes across the U.S., including the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley earlier this year and the shooting of 2 NYPD officers in June. Last month, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security warned Tren de Aragua leaders gave members a green light to shoot Denver police officers who interfere with their criminal activities. In response to the escalating threat, the Aurora Police Department has teamed up with the Colorado State Patrol and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to form a task force aimed at combating the gang's growing influence.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a far-right conspiracy theory that, once again, turns out to not be a conspiracy theory, which is this idea that you have illegal immigrants coming across the border and they are committing crimes in this country. Organized crime, gangs, violence, shootings, murders, drunk drivers. All these things are happening across the country. Now, in this story right here, we have to talk about Denver, Colorado, more specifically Aurora, Colorado, who has been experiencing an uptick in violence because of a Venezuelan gang. If you guys haven't heard about this story, I'm pretty sure you have, most of you, but they took over an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, and that caused a lot of conflict because they wouldn't leave, okay? And the apartment complex was not in livable conditions, but the gang just continued to stay there and to operate and to cause crime and destruction in the neighborhood. Now, they've been finally kicked out of the apartment. Everybody's been kicked out of the apartment. And the Venezuelan gangs are on the street. So now the residents in that local neighborhood are living in fear because of these gang members being out on the streets.
The city of Aurora has become a focal point of the migrant influx in Colorado after a recent wave of violent crime reportedly linked to a Venezuelan gang.
Fox 31's Ashley Michaels sitting down with Aurora's mayor, Mike Kaufman, to talk about it this week on Colorado Point of View.
Earlier this week, we told you Aurora police would be partnering with both the Colorado State Patrol and Colorado Bureau of Investigation to create a new task force aimed at dealing with the migrant gang problem. There have been shootings, other violent crimes, and apartment complexes reportedly taken over by a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, or TDA for short. Mayor Kaufman says the problem is when Venezuelans come across the southern U.S. border, the U.S. can't get their criminal backgrounds like they can with migrants from other countries. That means some violent criminals are settling here. But the question is, why do the problems seem more prevalent in Aurora than other parts of the metro area like Denver?
The reason why I think the focus is on us right now is that, you know, we've had some buildings that were fairly run down in pretty much the northwest part of the city. Seems like the pattern is out of state, I'll use the term slumlords, where I think what occurred is in the state legislature. They appropriated $2.5 million to give to nonprofits, and I think I want to find out how much the city of Aurora, the nonprofits in the city of Aurora got.
We also talked about the city's newly named police chief and whether or not Aurora is a safe place right now.
Here at 5, the new video surfacing today showing a huge problem with what some are calling gang violence at an apartment complex in Aurora. The video shows men entering an apartment building with several weapons and then busting down a door.
And all of this taking place at the apartments, which had become a crime hotspot in that city. Fox 31's Vicente Arenas was at that complex today as people were moving out, fearing for their safety. Vicente is joining us live from that complex with a closer look at that eye-opening video, Vicente.
It is eye-opening, Erica. It is significant because this is the first time we've actually seen what has been happening inside that apartment complex at different times. This video, there's 2 different clips you're about to see. One of them, people carrying guns, and another where 2 people are just trying to break down a door.
The video shows a group of men walking up a stairwell at the Edge Lowry apartment complex in Aurora. All of them appear to be carrying rifles and handguns, and the video shot earlier this month. One of the men can be seen talking on a cell phone. They all then gather around a door and go in. Another video clip shows men forcing a door open. But what or who they were searching for, not clear. The video was shot in the building where Cindy and Edward Romero lived until today. They loaded up their stuff and moved out.
It's been a nightmare. I've never owned a home before, so this was my first purchase.
She lives just 500 feet from this recently vacated apartment complex near Colfax Avenue and Nome Street.
They got the notice on a Wednesday and they were kicked out on Tuesday. So when it was happening, people were just throwing their things out the window.
The city of Aurora said it shut down the complex because living conditions are unfit for human habitation and code violations dating back to 2 years. While the management company claimed they could not do any maintenance or repairs because the complex was overrun by a Venezuelan gang.
There's nowhere for them to go. So they park in front of the house and they sleep when they can.
Max says it causes her street to be lined up with cars, sometimes blocking her own driveway. She captured this photo of a tent and people camped outside near her street. Aside from that, she's also noticed an uptick in crime like break-ins.
They've taken tools, they've taken the batteries. I'm not sure that they have necessarily monetary value. I lost my husband, and now I'm losing his things.
Aurora police telling Fox 31, since the abatement, they have had 2 calls to the 1600 block of Nome Street, both labeled as suspicious occurrences and relate to being on someone's property and ringing a doorbell. Both have since been cleared, but Max still has fears.
We've lost our security and we've lost our freedom to live in our home. You're afraid to leave because it's not in the middle of the night and it's not in the middle of the day. It's around the clock.
Wow. Wow. I wonder who she voted for. I wonder who she plans on voting for, okay? Because we cannot forget that the root cause of this problem was the policies of the Biden-Harris administration, okay? This is why this is happening. Now, Kamala Harris is going to continue those open border policies. I don't care how much she comes out here and claims that she's going to do something different. I don't care how much she flip-flops. She's definitely going to continue these policies. And people are learning the hard way that diversity and inclusion can go wrong, right? When you have too much of it, right? You got these criminals coming across the border and they're committing crimes and causing chaos in this country. People are losing their lives. Now, every time Trump points this out, the mainstream liberal media lies, okay? And they try to fact check Trump and say, oh, no, that's not true. Illegals aren't committing crimes. Illegals are actually better at following the law and not committing crimes than regular, everyday, average Americans, right? This is what they say, okay? No. You don't have criminals coming from Venezuela into the United States. That's not true, even though in Venezuela, their crime rate has dropped significantly because all of the gangs have left. They say, hey, you know what? There are better opportunities in the United States of America because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are letting the criminals in, right? That's what they've done. That's what's happening. And best believe it's only going to get worse under Kamala Harris because they're going to continue to incentivize illegals to come into this country. Okay, they want to grant work authorization permits. She does not want to secure the border. And if she gets in office, best believe you're going to see the same surge that you saw with Joe Biden. Remember when Joe Biden got in office, all these people came to the border, said, let us in. Yeah, you're going to see the same thing if Kamala Harris gets elected. Guaranteed. Guaranteed, right? If you think it's bad now, just wait till a Kamala Harris presidency. So with that being said, you have a lot of people that have gone to social media to sound the alarm on these Venezuelan gangs because a lot of people are living in fear. Okay, they have to deal with something that they've never had to deal with before thanks to the Biden-Harris administration. And this woman is just one of many who seem to be in fear of what is happening in this country. But again, I always ask people, who did you vote for? Okay, and who do you plan on voting for? Okay, because the answers to those questions will determine how much I feel bad for these individuals that are dealing with this problem directly. But for the sake of the country as a whole, I hope these people wake up and realize that their voting habits, okay, a lot of people's voting habits are the cause of this issue.
These migrants are getting worse, and a lot of the media is not covering it. A 19-year-old Venezuelan migrant just literally shot 2 police officers in New York City, NYPD, at point blank. He shot them at point blank range. Now they have him in custody and he's being charged. But what they are saying is that he basically is stating that a gang is instructing him to shoot at cops. Now we know what has happened in Aurora, Colorado. If y'all don't know, it's not even happening in just Aurora. Now it's transferring to even Denver, Colorado. What is happening is there are squatter laws in Colorado. And what squatter laws are, the fact that they even still exist in Colorado and it is legal, it blows my mind.
All liberal policies. You guys notice how all of the crimes associated with these illegals are because of liberal policies, whether it be at the federal level with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, okay? They're lax, soft immigration policies. And then when you get down to the sanctuary city policies, and then when you get down to the squatter laws, I mean, all of this stuff is a result of liberal, far-left policy. And that's what people have to understand. That's what people have to understand.
The apartment building in Colorado was actually condemned because of the code violations. Now, what tenants was saying is that they were threatening the management or the people that was over the building and not allowing staff to come into the building to like fix it up and things of that nature. Sanctuary city. So Colorado is a sanctuary city, and what that does is it limits. I don't know how much of it is true, but I heard that they were waiting for the older tenants to move out, and then they would move in other tenants and would be taking the money and rent from those tenants. Now, also in Denver, I'm hearing that they broke into many gun stores, and they are trying to do the same thing in Denver. Not only that, we have to be mindful of who we let all of those younger age men come over to the border. We did not lock the border down. And I remember doing a video talking about the border. And here's what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with immigrants coming over here, especially when they have dealt with the things that they deal with in their different countries, giving them an opportunity. That's not the point. But the proper thing to do is literally making sure we are coming over their background. Without proper management, this makes no sense. And when I talked about it last time, a lot of people was in my comments trying to come for me. But look, now y'all see what is happening. And then the media is not even reporting or even trying to talk about this. They're trying to push this under the rug. But not only that, the resources that our country is spending on these migrants that have came over, we already know with the EBT and how they have been supportive to these migrants who have came over into our country blows my mind in itself. That's a whole nother video, a whole nother conversation. Don't nobody want to talk about this stuff unless it's on your own doorstep. Oh yeah, let them come over, do this. They benefit, But when it's on your own doorstep, then you gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately, in this country, because a lot of people don't have enough common sense to realize something is bad without having to actually go through it or having to experience it. Okay, they just believe that, hey, it's good to just allow a bunch of, random people into the country unvetted, right? Just let them come. Okay, who cares? And then when you have the consequences of this silly policy show up in these little cities, now all of a sudden these people take the red pill and they say, oh, okay, well, that guy Trump wasn't actually really a racist. He wasn't actually really xenophobic when he was telling the truth about what is happening. Okay, but again, the media will just lie to people and say, oh no, this stuff is not happening. This is a right-wing conspiracy, right? This is what they do. This is what they do. So with that being said, considering how all this stuff is happening in this country, right? Look at the economy, look at the border, look at what happened during the pandemic. When it comes to things like learning loss and the negative consequences of the Democrats encouraging lockdowns and things like that, they are solely responsible for the deterioration that is happening in this country. And in a sane world, coming up in this election shouldn't be close. Right? There should be a historical red wave coming up in this next election if we was living in a sane country, a sane society, right? I really do not understand. It is beyond me. Why in the world would anybody consider voting Democrat at this point, right? In the year 2024, why in the hell would you consider voting Democrat when their policies have been an absolute disaster? I don't get it. I don't understand it. And this is why I have to say that, these people who are voting Democrat, it has to be because of Trump derangement. And unfortunately, their Trump derangement clouds their judgment. Either that or they hate Trump more than they love this country, right? That's the only explanation I can come to, because it's hard for me to say that you love the United States of America when you're out here voting for a party that is hell-bent on destroying the country that we all know and love. It doesn't make sense. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.